The opinions made in this video do not necessarily coincide with that of Imaginary Goddess, or anyone else for that matter. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey guys, it's Ben Wheeler, the Mercenary King, here with season finale for season 1 of State of Play. We'll be going over, I guess what I want to do for every, sort of season of quote unquote of State of Play is every time that there's a new, and I mean truly new mechanic that pops up. I want to see where we are and how did the previous metas evolve into sort of not the ultimate decks, but rather the best decks that I can make at the time, as well as decks that I enjoy, and are workable decks. I don't build just random decks. Oh, this is my joke deck. It's actually pretty good, guys. No, these are all serious decks. Some of them I would not play in tournaments because they're not complete. My dimensional robos I'm just not happy with, no matter how I build them. But other ones, I am happy with, and I really think that if you, put the right stuff together, some magic's gonna pop out here. So I'm going to go over my stuff clan by clan, as well as sort of show off what is the winning image, what sort of fun you can have with it, what sort of advantages, as well as what you can look forward to, and what it came from. I take pride in the fact that I built myself one of every deck in the game, and I'm sure some people can say that. But at the same time, I doubt people have put as much time and effort into it, because I don't really bother with other hobbies except my writing. And there's enough time to write and think about this sort of thing. All right, let's start with the first of all clans, Royal Paladins. For this one, I have a solid Sanctuary of Light deck. Ever since I made it much more aggressive, much more I guess this is fine. Much more aggressive, much more sort of focused on the winning image, which is, giving power to your rear guards, who also will usually be Sanctuary of Light, as well as some minor summoning and an unlimiter, which has done wonders for my deck. It really pulled it through. I believe that this is sort of an Royal Paladin deck, not based on any particular archetype but their own. There are no more Sanctuary of Light cards except what came up in set 15. 14, excuse me. And it's very enjoyable. I like it because it's simple, it's powerful. You can build it any number of ways. I'm going to change it up to a Alfred Easer deck, but Easer is not out yet. And, you know, you have to do these things properly. This was actually my first deck. Um, Blaster Blade and everything, and then I went to Bermuda Triangle, which I'll cover later, and then finally Mega Colony, which I stuck with for about a year. Anyway, that's my Royal Paladins. There's not much to say about this deck, honestly. It is a Sanctuary of Light deck, and it does its job. I'm going to be modifying it with stuff that's coming out in G Booster 01, as well as the Ultimeal. And I'm going to combo up Sanctuary of Light with Ultimeal so that I have the consistency of a Break Ride with the power and freedom of Ultimile, as well as a few other things. It'll be interesting anyway. The next deck here, I'm sure everyone's familiar with, and that is, where is it? OTT. I play this deck quite often. It's my Pentagonal Monica deck. I combine up the future side of Pentagonal with the ability of Monica to continuously draw cards. And then I have some cards like this one and this one, which allow me to shuffle my deck so that I don't have a stack, but at the same time I've got a lot of triggers up at the top. With cards like Lozenge and Silent Tom, I'm constantly being able to go on the offensive or defensive, as well as putting heals back and, really helping with my defense and offense equally. I'm really looking forward to the fact that I don't have to run Oracle Guardian Gemini in G Booster 01, because there is another AK coming out, which is Super nice. Let me tell you, so that I can have, a proper, um, columns and everything like that. Oh, oh, oh. There we go. It's not really doing it, is it? At least you can see it. This is entirely the wrong time to do this. 5 minutes in, I've been trying to mess with this thing. Wait a minute. Oh, there we go. Huh. I got it. I only flashed you my crotch like once. Thank goodness. My name's Sven Wheeler, and I am legally required to tell you I am a sex offender. What type of sex offender? Well, let's just say there's a park that's no longer a virgin. Screwed that park real good. OTT. There's a bunch of stuff coming out with the new set. I'm not really interested in it. Some of it's really good, and I might add it to the deck. Like, I don't really need 10Ks or as many Battle Sisters as I have right now, but at the same time, this is a solid working deck. My first OTT deck was a soulless Coco deck that I bought at great cost from a store. It was an Old Rivals deck, Alan, and it served me quite well for quite some time, won me a few battles. It ran off of Coco and Sakura, and right now I keep it in its own little folder thing where I can look at it when I want to and play it when I want to, because it's really weird, but at the same time there's sort of glory days for me. And if you can take a person's deck as a trophy, you really should if it's legitimate. If you're stealing it, I don't approve of that. The next clan we have here is Shadow Paladins. For this one, I bought 4 trial decks and a case of set 12 because Raging Form and Nebula Lord back in the day, way back when, like Prometheum and whatnot, were like $20 cards. And so right now I'm running Raging Form and Mordred as my winning image. You Mordred, you summon something out like, I don't know, him or, this guy, or maybe Blaster. Oh, I want the... Here we go. SP. Still a $50 card, give or take, maybe 40. BDR SP, and you run him with Dorant for unflipping counterblasts, so you kill something for 1 counterblast. Bushy Road realized that was not OP, and so they made like Blaster Blade's Seeker a counterblast 1 while it's on rear guard. You might say, Ben, well, that's not connected at all. Oh, yes, it is. You see, every set is a prototype for the next set out. Stride was inevitable. Some sort of form of stride was inevitable, but at the same time, it's how they were able to do it that's making it, in my opinion, such a game changer. As you can see here, I'm running Bloodmaster, which gives you a counterblast 2 and draw 2, essentially, for taking a damage, which could kill you if you're not careful. And Shadow Lancer, which you can pay grade 3s to, get out Mordreds, which is always useful. Finally, Judge Bow, the best starter if you're running any sort of Phantom. And by the way, Mordred Phantom is too good not to run in all Shadow Paladins. It's actually quite funny, because if you kill Judge Bow early somehow, it really screws up their strategy. This deck has won me quite a few battles, and it still functions. I haven't fought it against PBA yet, and I kind of want to, but at the same time, this deck is sort of retired for now, waiting to see what I can do for the next big thing. And I've got other decks that I kind of want to play more, like my Angel Feather deck, which I'm about to show you, and Gold Paladin Brunhilder, just in the same, nation. That's not counting my new Kagero deck, which I'm still working on. I'm thinking of changing it to Pain Laser, but that's for another day. Pain Laser. So for, by the way, winning image, you Raging Form when you attack. If you have another Raging Form in hand, even if you drive check it, you can ride it over. Persona Ride. Yeah. Just wanted to make sure I can cut over that. With this one, it's pretty simple. Get one or both of these Angel Feather Celestials. Is basically if you have a certain card in the damage zone that gain abilities, copies of itself. This one gets plus 5k in a crit. This gets plus 3k to all its units, depending on which one's on the Vanguard, Helm, and Zerachiel. Rather than go with the Break Ride, which I feel slows this deck down a bit, I have gone straight up with, Angel Feather 2 aces. Both these aces require limit break, but at the same time, Angel Feathers, benefit from the damage being dealt, and I feel really help it. To help it to, further its goals, I added cards like this, which gets plus 3k for a Zerachiel in the damage zone. And let's see here. This one, which can return to the field, as long as you put the top deck in your damage zone. You actually, if you damage this, you can counterblast one, and if you do another one, you can do it again. But that's counterblast 2 for a plus 2, basically. And that assumes you have no field, so that you've got other problems. I think I'm going to replace him with the 12k attacker. He's a good card from set 6, plus 2k every time you turn something into the damage zone. But honestly, it doesn't happen enough in this deck for it to be worth it 100% of the time. 12k attacker is better in this case. 12k attackers are generic, but at the same time, they really do work for certain things. Also, Lozenge Mage's Clone, keeping the heals going in there. The more you heal, the longer you can last. I suppose this is a good deck to talk about this. Some people, when they talk about Vanguard and they're not playing any heals, they say that somebody could take a 10 damage. Well, here's the thing. I don't think I've ever had more than... Okay, I have no battle I personally remember that, a person healed. Yes. 4 times. Don't have one. The people who whine about it, I feel, is just not, they're not right. There's chance and luck and probability that goes into this. And so that if you're down to 4 heals and 4 cards in the deck, you're at 100%. But if, let's say, he triple crits you and you've got 5 cards, you're at 5 damage. One of them is not a heal. There is still there's greater than a 20% chance for you to pull that card when you're damage checking, losing you the game. At the same time, you're going to draw a heal, and that person just triple checked you, which means triple critted you, which means that he's running good on defense more than likely. Use cards like this to put these things into the soul directly. It's pretty great. Always works. Actually, no, that doesn't do that. What does do that? This just puts things on the rearguard circle. Like if I've got Zerachiel and this in there, I put this guy out. But let's see, where is she? Oh, this one doesn't. Celestial, card name, hand, damage zone, and then I can flip stuff out. If you put this into it, you can counterblast and put it out to the field. Really a lot of variety with this deck. It is a surprisingly robust deck. Really enjoyable fights, as well as just a surprise it is when they see both a Zerachiel and a Helm. Helm was an underappreciated card in Fire's collection, and I kind of feel that any deck that runs it is a fun deck. I tried to do it with Andriel first of all, and that wasn't very good at all. This deck has been a motley of things for the longest time, unlike my Raging Form deck that I made as soon as Set 12 came out, or my Royal Paladins, which has sort of been with me forever, even though I've not played it most of the time. This has sort of been a long-term creation, and I'm glad to finally have something that works. Weirdly, I had 4 of the Celestial. You don't need a special counterblast in that deck. I had 4 of the Celestial ones, and I traded it for 4 of the normal Perfect Shields. And I've not regretted it. The normal Perfect Shields are just the best. Next clan, I have the Gold Paladins. This has been a great surprise to me. I had a Pelennor deck. That was my first complete uh, complete deck. By the way, there is a stride that allows you to summon a Pelennor, and I cannot figure out whether or not you can not ride, but you place it on the Vanguard circle, right? I cannot tell whether that goes into the heart or whether it goes over the stride. Think about it. Think about it. Anyway, this is a Liberator deck. The modern Liberators are beautiful things. They instead of just doing the top card of your deck a lot, they just choose from the top 3, top 4, and a couple top 5. We have Percival, who is a free summon on Legion, with Algavale, who is a Counterblast 1 summon out a Liberator from the top 3. This is also Coil. He should have been the triple rare, while Wild Fist Dragon should not have been. But I think because Wild Fist Dragon has all the crits, that it was preferred over it. The thing is, I don't think people really built the deck like I did, which is all about giving power rather than focusing on advantage like so many other Royal Gold Paladin decks. So you top 4, you summon out him, plus 5k. When you summon him out while you're in Legion, he gets another plus 5k. So he gives himself a plus 10k. This card gives out plus 2 plus 3ks if summoned while in Legion. And let's see here, you don't like what you're calling from the top 3, top 4, whatever. You can just play a catch call, slide it under, and something else come out from the top 3. Of course, you'd lose the 5k if you were summoning him through Coil, but that doesn't matter too much. Winning image, power, stands, and I added 4 crits. Why? Because the draws weren't cutting it. The draws were great, Falcon Knight of the Azure, and maybe somebody could, work it better, but wasn't as good as it could be. Finally, there's a starter, one of the best starters in the game. Spring Breeze Bunny was one of the longest lasting starters in this game next to Conroe. But at the same time, this guy's just better. When you Legion, when your Vanguard is Legion, you can just put it in there. Top 3, choose one, shuffle deck. Really a great card. This deck has, nearly won me some tournaments. Really solid performance all around. I have done a deck profile about it somewhere or other. If I haven't, I'll do it, but I'm pretty sure it's alright. Maybe on one of my single plays. Gold Paladins dominate the meta here in St. Louis and, Missouri and the United States, so on and so forth, for a good year. Right now, it's, I guess, Kagero and maybe Nova Grapplers. I don't know. I don't like talking about it. Certainly not the clans I build the S decks of. Shadow Paladins, there we go. Shadow Paladins, Kagero, Genesis, but not Brunhilde, which is a pity. Now this is my completed Brunhilde deck. A lot of moving parts, but at the same time they all work together, and if I miss one, doesn't mean I'm stuck without a paddle here. We've got Brunhilde. She is a bit overcosted, I'll be the first to admit it, but at the same time her ability is fantastic. She's a cross ride with Angelica, who is Soul Blast 3, ride plus 10k and draw 2. Soul Blast 6, Counter Blast 4, kill 3 of your opponent's rear guards and draw a card for each unit retired. She's an ultimate break, which I think is her one actual flaw, like deep flaw that you have to work to overcome. Everything else is just natural. Genesis has hella soul charging all the time. This is whenever it boosts a grade 3, you soul charge 1. It's fantastic. This can pull 3 cards from the deck as long as they're from the drop zone, and as long as they're Regalia, they can go into the soul. In other words, triggers you're using to defend. There's cards like this when it's soul blasted plus 5k. This is a stand. I run crits and stands in this deck. It's really nice. And then finally a Minerva. There's one more card I'm going to talk about, but a Minerva, which I basically use to finish people off with. Like, let's say I run with Brunhilde and I kill 3 of their units, and I'm starting to really wear them down. Brunhilde is like hitting somebody with a tactical nuke. while at the same time, I don't know, feeding your unit steroids or something. Because all of a sudden you got 3 cards in hand and you kill 3 of their units. That's 3 cards from their hand that they have to put down. Let's say they don't put it down. She's 13k. That's fantastic. All of a sudden it's a 13k defense and they've only got 12k attackers. Let's say you kill all 3 of their boosters. 12k attackers. Nice. They won't hit her, so that's less defense. Just have to worry about that Vanguard. So then I ride her, and she's a restander. I gained 3 cards last turn. I can afford to lose 1, 2, 3, 4 even. Of course, because it's counterblast 4 and she's counterblast 1, you'll only be able to use her once. But I often find that once is perfect. Just perfect. Finally, let's say that they keep you at 4. Thingsaber Dragon has honestly been the biggest disappointment to me, fighting it, than anything else. Few people know how to play it. Some are very good with it, but at the same time, a person who understands how it runs, like, it's not the right idea, how to say it. It's not as strong as other things I have to face, and because it's not as strong as other things I have to face, I'm not intimidated by it, so I don't misplay against it. I guess that's a good way to say it, but at the same time, there's more to it than that. It's some sort of deck correction that needs to be made that I don't think anyone does. It's just Royal Paladins, and then they can't end the game, I guess, as well as PBA can, even though it does the same thing. What I do is, when I'm stuck at 4 and somebody's swinging at me for a natural crit, or I just don't want to take the damage, I can defend it, and then I can play Counterblast 1, put the top card into my damage zone, bringing me up to 5, assuming I'm at 4. And then I have Ultimate Break, and then I can use her ability, and I can really, ruin somebody's happy day. This was suggested to me after I got my behind kicked by a Alfred player who had that crit and people had already been talking to me about it, and I should have listened to him sooner. Because I could have pulled it off that game. I beat him the time I did get Brunhilde off, but every other game after that, he was smart, and he didn't let me get Brunhilde off. The way to beat Brunhilde is to not let him use Brunhilde and force him to ride this or keep break riding, because you lose too many cards through the soul charge and draw. Yeah, Brunhilde is a fantastic card, deserves the triple rare, honestly. I've played against witches and beat them even out of hand. Yggdrasil even isn't that much of a challenge to me compared to, say, PBA or the Great, which still stand as the only 2 decks that can really beat me here. In a serious context, when I'm not just you'll see clans when I'm playing and I'm just sort of joking around. I'm fighting to the best of my abilities, but I don't consider it serious until there's something on the line. Overall, a good deck. If you want to build somebody a cheap Genesis deck that's better than Iwagana Hime, who was underpowered compared to Artemis and stuff, she's the one you really want to build. Alright, I'm going to pull up my Dragon Empire stuff. Start with Kagura, we'll move on. Overall, United Sanctuary is a great clan, a great series of decks, really fun, a lot of stuff here. I'm just making sure I have everything. 3 different types of paladins. Yeah. Really sort of has everything together. A lot of fun, a lot of different variety, and I think that with the new stuff that's coming out, especially the Royal Paladins, because they've had to deal with Thingsaber, they've had to deal with Seekers, they've had to deal with Minerva. I've been saying Thingsaber, they got me. This is dreadful. There's a lot out there, and a lot that'll sort of bring it to, fullness, finally. Because even though Royal Paladins can fight with the best of them, they just simply aren't as good as others. And, they're the plain vanilla of all of Cardfight, I guess. I don't know. And I think with the stuff that they're getting in GBO1, you'll really start to see them pop with more abilities, better abilities, and just a host of other things that I think will make them much more intimidating compared to what they have been. And that goes with everything. Like, I don't really think there's much improvement to OTT, but I'm looking forward to what they do with Angel Feather. They already have a stride out that gives power based on things in the damage zone, which is fantastic. Um, the gold paladin ones are pretty good as well. Shadow paladins, we haven't really seen anything about them yet. But then again, Ren's not around, so we're getting a special trial deck that I will cover when it comes out, or in America anyway, because I'm sure we'll get it. We got the other guy. Yeah, and it's starting to look very interesting. The more I do these videos, the more excited I get. Now we are doing the Dragon Empire, starting off with Kagero. Kagero I haven't had for as long as other decks. It's a sort of experimental deck I keep on working with and trying to, improve, have a lot of fun with, like create something that everyone else doesn't. It is one of the original 4 decks of Vanguard that you could play along with OTT, Nova Grapplers, and Royals. Everything else you couldn't really play because they didn't have enough like triggers and stuff like that, like the Dark Regulars, Nubatama, that sort of thing. Yeah, they combo them up with other clans. But I think the cheapest thing is this guy is a fantastic Vanguard because he goes into soul whenever you kill stuff, and it allows you to kill more stuff. Killing more things, because losing this guy as a Forerunner is not a minus to you, not really, because he's not a true plus. Because there's a lot of different ways you could lose him. That it means that you should never depend on it for its calculations. Now the winning image of the deck is this variety. Basically, early ride. If you kill something, you can show it off as long as you have a grade 2 or greater, and ride them. And it is hilarious to watch the opponent's face while they're at grade 1, and all of a sudden you gain 2 extra cards on them. It is really fantastic. And then I've got Dominate Drive Dragon, who is Counterblast 1, Block 1. Of course, I'm running unlimiters here. Whenever you do not drive track a trigger, you can gain plus 3k and kill one of the grade 1 or lesses. He's a really good card just on his own. Really overshown by a lot of his, Kagero brothers, but at the same time, he's pretty fearsome. Doesn't matter what you get, he's doing something to you. I think I'm going to run 4 of him, though. I've ordered some recently. Lastly, I'm running here Perdition Dragon, Breakdown Dragon. He's Counterblast 3 when you're in Legion, with Elhem, who gets plus 5k every time you kill something in the same column as it's at that unit. You kill a column. If they have 2 or less rear guards, you get it on the flip of damage. So you could do it twice if you wanted to. Just kill both columns for 5 counterblasts. And then of course you put it in Sadiq for the last one. A lot of fun. Also, you have cards like these. What they do is sorta keep you going. This kills starters. Best draw trigger in the game. Probably. Top 3, anyway. He's Counterblast 1, put this into the soul, and kill a grade 0. And then you kill something else. And then with these 2 in the soul, you can play Calamity Tower Wyvern, which soul blasts 2 unless you draw a card. Oh, look at this. I just drew one of these guys. Because of how Order of Operations work in Vanguard, Cruel Dragon can be played as soon as I get him into hand. The combos of this deck are delicious. I'm not really enjoying him, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and get my hands on some Pain Lasers. The Menace Laser Dragon, the grade 2, is actually very expensive, like $10 still, and I'm going to be looking to get my hands on some of them somehow. But at the same time, Pain Laser's like a $2 card. If I combo them up properly, I free up a slot for Menace Laser, who I believe is a counterblast, kill something in the same column as that unit. As this unit might need a Perdition, but don't care. It's not really about perdition. It's about, killing things, getting Cruel Dragon off, and then getting Pain Laser off. If Pain Laser's going off, I can use Menace Laser. It's a cool cycle that way. For my opponent, not for me. Also, I'm thinking of that. There's some units that come out in GBO2, 01. Yeah, 01 that allows me that'll gain more power as long as your generation break 1, and it's like plus 5k or something. Which is just beautiful. And it's a 7k of starting out. I'll certainly do that. Going forward. Also, here's the thing about Aran Kimnaras too, just so you guys know how much kill I have here. No, it's not killing. Oh, a bunch of these. One of the best crit triggers. Best heal trigger, almost. Just because of the art. I wish Narukami had that art. I really do. I think Narukami has poor trigger art, mostly. I don't really know. Their aesthetic is sort of more Arabian than European dragon gun things. But, Another thing that came out starting set 1 is Tachikaze. Tachikaze is a fantastic series of cards. I ride a Break Ride Legion combo. What I'll be doing is, I'm still in the process of modifying it. I'll be running Unlimiters so I can ride this on top of this as soon as possible and get off that 3 crit, because this gives plus 10k, kill 2, draw 2. Oh, by the way, kill 2 of your own, just so you know. But hey, guess what? This guy can survive it by counterblasting 1 and letting you draw, returning it to field. This guy can survive it by counterblasting 1 and returning to field. There's a lot of ways that you can get around paying the cost. So it's counterblast 2, kill 2, save 2, draw 2. That's nice. And his is, eat one of your own units, gets plus 5k when this unit attacks. If one of your rear guards with the same name as something on the Vanguard circle, in other words, this guy or this guy, you can get him plus 5k in a crit. So in other words, I can run, let me find him, this guy who gets plus 5k and when you kill something like this guy, counterblast 1, bring him back. If he hits a Vanguard, unfortunately it's only until end of battle, but still, you can unflip a damage. So you can kill this for this guy's ability and he'd still get the crit. And the 5k, which is just beautiful. So you don't have to waste as many counterblasts. This is a counterblast heavy deck, even though everything just uses 1 counterblast. A lot of fun. This deck also here, if I kill this, my Vanguard's in Legion, I can counterblast 1, search out either a grade 2 or grade 3 on my Vanguard circle, and play him, which is nice. Baby Saurus is nice. He's just a nice card. Not as good as Dino Egg, I guess, but at the same time, I need to run Ancient Dragons. I need to make sure this deck is consistent, otherwise it's just not going to work. Yeah. Thinking of replacing him with the 14k attackers when you eat something. But it doesn't gain any abilities, so it's like, Apparently there's an episode where ancient dragons were introduced with Tyranno Legend, and what's his face, one of Morikawa's underlings, Izaki, there we go, Izaki, was fighting. By the way, this started out as a Dark Rex Death Rex deck, and it was one of my first actual videos for Imagine Your Goddess. It was really fun deck, but at the same time moves on, and there's better things out there. But Death Rex, Dark Rex is still, fun. That's all get out. It's just a pity there's so much Ancient Dragon support. And apparently, like, if he had played it perfectly, he would have defeated Aichi. But at the same time, it's like, you put a 7k up top, and it assumes that you know what triggers come in. When you go over when you plan out something, a deck especially, you shouldn't really ever plan on getting triggers. You will get triggers, but that's not the point. You shouldn't plan on it. So that if it doesn't happen, you're not like, oh no, this was supposed to work exactly right. It crushes your spirits and your deck doesn't function properly. But here's the flip side to it. If you say that, how can I make this win without triggers? All of a sudden, triggers changes from a potential deficit to a bonus, making your decks more potent rather than less. In a deck that, in these two, my Kagero and Royal Paladins, both of these decks are designed to ruin the other player's day without triggers. All of a sudden, they're losing their entire field. All of a sudden, I'm facing you with, let's see here, 24k columns with the unlimited effect from the second I ride grade 3. That's fantastic. And and if I get a crit trigger, of which there are 12 in my Royal Paladin deck, that just means I win more rather than it interfering with anything. Especially if you have a deck that gives a natural crit, like my common deck here. I suppose I'll cover this next. It's starter brawler fighting Draco Kid. It has 3 different Vanguards and Legion Mate here, Wild Fist Dragon. I really felt that Coil should have been the triple rare instead of this guy. And then cards like Shotgun Blow Dragon, and Skybeat Dragon, who is Legion kill something in the front row. This also kills things when you Legion. This gives power when you kill things. This kill things for Counterblast 2. Counterblast 1, excuse me. This kills things for Counterblast 2 when you Legion. But they have to choose. Makes me sad. Then, let's see here. These things, Stormy and Lisei and Ulk, gain power when you kill things. You see where I'm going with this. I don't need triggers to win. They will just help me win. Because at the end of the day, I can slide this into my soul. And let's say I'm riding... let's see here. There he is. Let's say I ride him and put him in the soul. I Legion. And I've got cards like this. Excuse me. This out. Into soul. I choose that, I kill that column, I kill that column. I Soul Blast, let's say I have 4 cards in Soul, Soul Blast them. Because I killed 4 units. Plus 12, because this is during the main phase. Plus 12 right here. So this is normally a 15k column. All of a sudden, it's a 39k column. I give it another 3k so it hits 32. This column is, because of this ability, a Soul Blast 1 gives something plus 3k every time you kill something. Oh yeah, this is one of my babies. I run here in Dungaree and she is hilarious because all of a sudden I put this like surgical plus 3k somewhere and it really messes up an opponent's day because they don't have the guard. Because Dungaree surprisingly kills a lot of stuff and makes you guard a lot as opposed to like, what people think about it. It's still not as good as this deck, but at the same time it's still a fantastic deck and some of the stuff coming out in GBO2 will be really breath of fresh air. Now this column is a bit weaker. He only got plus. This is only 20. Actually, let me see here. 15, 20, 29. This is 16 plus 12, 28. My numbers are off somewhere. Plus 12, plus 12, 24. Oh, 39. I turned it into a 42k column. Excuse me. Don't know my 32s from my 42s here. Which is almost unblockable. Under normal circumstances. This is 28. I can give plus 3k here and turn it into 34 or 37, depending on how I feel about it. I've got 9K to work with to give out 3Ks. So all of a sudden, this turns into a 18 boosted by a 19, that's 37. Or even better, I just keep this at 34 or at, 32, 31. There we go. 31 and make this a 13K booster, turning this column into 25K, which is not a perfect number, but it still beats out just about anything for Vanguards. And let's see what the top two cards are. A heal trigger and not a crit. And not a trigger. That's still pretty nice. At this point in the game, I might be able to heal, I might not. Who knows? I know that I'm attacking with my Vanguard first, that's for sure. This deck can run with stands if you run 4 of her, and more of him. Simply, like if you simplify the deck rather, ignore the wild rushes and just do shotgun blow and this guy, and you focus on retiring easily from the Vanguard circle, you could easily, create a different deck. But of course, what I basically do is I begin with this guy, and I soften them up with criticals, because assuming I haven't drawn a critical or another one of him, there are 14 criticals in that deck, and I'm twin driving. There's like 5K, maybe 35 at most cards in that deck, assuming I haven't taken any damage. Though my calculations may be a bit off because of Legion. Yeah, let's say I put some, triggers back. There are 20 triggers in that deck, and maybe there are 35 cards if you're unlucky. Those are fantastic odds. Um, Overall, though, this is a fun deck. Hasn't really been winning things with me much, but I've been sort of punching at my weight limit rather than below it or above it. So I'm gonna test it out with some other people and just see how it goes. See what it does to decks, and stuff like that. All right then, just a moment. So yeah, the Stargate cards have been around for quite some time. Nova Grapplers, starting from set 1, not the trial decks though, and then the rest sort of filing in as necessary. Nova Grapplers have gotten an immense amount of support from Bushy Road. My particular deck happens to be Asura Immortal. I run, I think, 11 or 10 grade 3s. Basically, I go Asura Kaiser at first, then I go Mont Blau Kluger, and then Asura Mortal Kaiser. Basically, this gives the cross ride. This gives a break ride ability, which is plus DK and counterblast 1. When this unit attacks a Vanguard, pay the cost. If you do, stand all your rear guards. No, this isn't once per turn. This is whenever you attack a rear guard with your Vanguard. Guess what he does? When he reveals a grade 3, he gains the ability at the end of the battle. This unit attacked a Vanguard, counterblast 2, and choose 2 Nova Grapplers and discard them. Stand this unit and give plus 10k. So in other words, for counterblast 4, you have 2 full field attacks and 2 Vanguard attacks. 3 full field attacks and 2 Vanguard attacks. And then I run 4 of these guys, which gain plus 3k every single time every single other Nova Grappler on this field is stood. By the way, he stands 2 by himself without it. So he stands himself and probably a booster or maybe an attacker like this. So you could boost them up into an 80 plus column from 16k. It's really a beautiful. Let's see here. Maybe bring it down a bit. This thing just never wants me to do it right. It's really a beautiful column, beautiful winning image. All this power, some damage and flippers, and guys like this. Every time he becomes stand during the battle phase, he gets plus 3k, which is nice if my this gets the same ability, except whenever, at no battle phase. Plus 3k until end of turn. So, you know, he boosts this, all of a sudden he becomes an 8k. So it hits 41k with the Break Ride before triggers. And by the way, you will get at least, you should get 1 trigger out of 4 drive checks, really. Because a full fourth of your deck is trigger. But at the same time, this isn't like a Legion deck or anything like that. So, you know, what do I know? Actually, I know quite a bit. Except not how to position a camera. That is the one thing my mother never told me. Or my father. Or anyone, really. Who knows? Anyway, really great deck. I really hope we see more of these cards. Really powerful cards that work off of a winning image. By the way, these only work with Asura Immortals, but Asura cards, but that's still not too bad. You know, for victory, there's some Nova Grapplers coming out, namely Starlight Hedgehog. I do have a bunch of 10Ks in here. I'm going to replace them with her. And she basically, every time, the first time something is stood, you unflip a damage, and then you draw a card. It's beautiful. Doesn't require Legion, doesn't require Generation Break. It is just beautiful. Also, I run Street Bouncers for more draw power. A lot of people run Street Bouncers for draw power and Nova Grapplers. He's really great in that respect. Alright, there's nothing really else to say about Nova Grapplers. This is a fun deck. Sometimes I should be running other decks when I'm running this deck, but at the same time, this is my deck. There are a lot of decks like it, but this one's mine and I like it. Nothing really beats the butt-clenching terror of waiting for a twin drive to resonate and hope that you have a grade 3 there. Because if you are able to pull off that grade 3, 9 times out of 10 you've won the game right there. Unless you're at like 0 damage. In which case, the lucky bastards. Now this deck I'm not happy with. It's my darker, sorry, not darker regulars, what am I thinking? Saying, being, doing, existing. It's my Dimensional Robos deck. I do like the Daikaiser build. I have not been able to make it to my satisfaction yet, and that's a constant journey. I'm mixing in Enigman and Dimensional Robos. Namely this guy who is when he's plus 14k or greater. When this unit hits, you can retire something. It's nice. It's a annoying little thing that sort of makes people like stop to think about it, because anyone can take damage, but at the same time, do they want to lose a key card? This guy gets a crit when they're 15k or greater. Let's see here, at the beginning of your attack step, yeah. They took that away, by the way, for like Metalborgs and whatnot, once they realized that this isn't OP. What keeps Crazy Daikaiser consistent, sorry, Crazy Diamond consistent, is the great Gen 2 ride chain with Enigman. Enigman Flow to Enigman Rain to Ripple to Enigman Wave to Enigman Storm. I always feel like there's an Enigman Rain somewhere in there, and I think there is. But he doesn't really, he's not useful in this deck at all. Along with some Commander Laurels. Let's see, I should have brought him out. Actually, I built this deck not only around 2 things. First off, the obvious Daikaiser. What Daikaiser is probably one of the greatest things to happen to any clan since Novel Vague. I mean, this is probably one of the top 3 most important cards in Stargate, top 10 in Vanguard, just because of the effect it's had on Dimensional Robos, like over Dayusha. Because what he does is when you ride him, Counterblast 1, you give a 10k and a crit. You know, if you drive check a grade 3, you can nullify a perfect guard 10k, 15k, whatever. Doesn't matter. You nullify it every single time you drive check a grade 3. So say they just perfect shield you. All of a sudden, grade 3, no perfect shield. You just critted them. It really turns your grade 3s into something. Obviously, you run perfects. Because of how I built this deck continues to, let's see here. I run cards like this guy and this guy, which give plus 4k to your Vanguard for Counterblast too. They're not that great, but at the same time, you know, they give out plus 4ks and they keep the crits going, because a weakness of Crazy Diamond is that, you know, once you do all your tricks, you know, then what do? Well, you know, you keep it going, keep the crits going, or you play cards like him. I need to get myself some Shadow Kaisers, but at the same time, or Ultimate Dimensional Robo. Basically, this guy, he's pretty cool. Choose a Dimensional Robo and into the Soul while he's on Vanguard. Search your deck for a grade 3 Dimensional Robo. Ride it stood, and that unit gets plus 4k until end of turn. So you could ride a Nayusha on him. Why? I don't know. You shouldn't, honestly. You really should summon out like him, so you can break right next turn, which is absolutely devastating. I think Chance Sulin and the state of play that preceded this directly, sort of a prelude to the season finale, played it, and the tricks he could do with these cards. Really fantastic. Laurel was, by the way, restricted to 1 with the new Stride units, because he doesn't need to hit a Vanguard for your your Vanguard doesn't need to hit another Vanguard, and there's a card called Omega Superman that's a Stride that brings everyone sorted down to 0, and yeah, the last thing they need is a Stride swinging twice with all the crits and draws and whatever else that entails. Overall, I'm looking forward to the deck that they're making. Sorry, the my goodness, extra booster that they're making for Dimensional Police, that has their Strides and everything all together on it, because I think they need it. And secondly, there's a whole bunch of Enigma and Zeal support that's just fantastic, but at the same time does not belong in any particular deck. Last but certainly not least, we have my Link Joker deck. Link Joker had received an immense boost in set 17. Like 4 of the triple rares were Link Joker. At the same time, you know, with the trial deck as well as and the commons and rares alone, really gave Link Joker a leg up. A lot of the people who are playing Link Joker, I feel, just don't have the right mindset when it comes to it, or they're misusing resources, which is a mortal sin, like literally losing you the game beyond the hope of a triple crit. Misusing the resources that are available to Link Joker. Counterblasts are a very, 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 very scarce source in Link Joker, and you do have to be careful with it. Excuse me. Otherwise, you might find yourself, you know, you could have won the game if you had the resources to do it. You know what I mean? Well, I shouldn't assume you know what I mean. If you don't have the resources, you know, at the time to start locking things when you need to, you know, the deck's dead in the water. And this deck especially. Like, some decks lock on command, like Blast or Joker, but this one, and it's pretty powerful besides. But I'm running Hafnium and Garnet Star. Garnet Star is Legion with Photon, who is one of the best cards in Link Joker right now. And you lock a front row and a rear guard unit. That's pretty good. What Photon does is, if you have something locked, you can place him on a rear guard circle and lock something else, which is nice, because all of a sudden you play him and then put one here, and you've got a triangle lock. And then you combo up Hafnium with Radon. Radon's just a 12k attacker for Starvaders, but what this guy does is, when this unit attacks the Vanguard, if this unit is Legion, choose equal number of your opponent's locked cards from among your units and give them plus 5k. So all of a sudden, you're hitting for 26k columns, because you will hit like 2 to 3. His second ability is kind of nice, like Nebula Lord. He is a Legion Nebula Lord, just so you guys know. He is Counterblast 2, choose a back row unit and lock it. If it were any more expensive, it would be overpowered. because then you go like counterblast 1, counterblast 1, counterblast 1. Aha, I locked 3 units, plus 15k to things. Really tough card to beat if you don't know what you're doing, because all of a sudden he comes up. He is a rare and he deserves it. But at the same time, it's, you know, it does a lot better than I think people think, especially if you build the deck around him like I have. I have my Volt Lines, I have my Photons. Volt Line is probably one of the best Link Joker grade 1's boosters, because what it does is when it boosts and hits a Vanguard, this unit boosted, you can choose a card and it doesn't lock again. Doesn't unlock next turn, which is beautiful, beautiful. Doesn't require Legion, doesn't require Starvaders, doesn't require anything, just lock cards. So yeah, it's a staple in every Link Joker deck right now. Another card I think people will appreciate, even if they don't quite agree with it, is Turn Down Dragon. When this unit is placed on the Guardian Circle and you have and your opponent has 2 or more locked cards, you can place him down for a plus 10k to your guard, so he's a 15k guard in your hand. That saves you a lot of cards over a long period of time. It's just that, he's a 6k. He's a good ride turn 1, and he's a halfway decent booster. But the thing about Volt Line, you summon him out with Colony Makers. Colony Makers is counterblast 1. If they have a locked card, you may summon out grade 1 or less and put it in the rearguard circle. Shuffle deck. So basically, what I hope to do is Legion this guy, and then play her, and then bring out one of him for a solid thing here. So 16k column is numbers. It will hit things. It will force your opponent to guard as soon as you start locking, and if you need to accelerate your Legion. By the way, playing these cards, it's good to play Soul Blast to draw a card. Cards like Calamity Tower Wyvern or this guy, because he takes 2 cards from Soul, puts it in drop zone. These 2 cards can then be put into the deck for Legion cost. So in other words, you only have to spend 2 cards from hand or deck or whatever to get into the drop zone for Legion, which is good. This deck is efficient at what it does. Finally, it's topped off by the starter, who is an Osmium / Volt Line, except starting with a grade 0, and he locks and he keeps something in the front and back row locked. Actually, no, I can just choose 2 lock cards and keep them locked during the next turn, which is really good. If you don't like that, an alternative is Robin Knight, who will counterblast 1, put this unit in Soul. If you've got a lock card, you can lock a front and back row. He's alright, but he's not as good as it could be, because he requires Legion and a few other things. So it's like, don't like him as much. But still, though, this is a fun deck. I like it. Nebula Lord and cards like Nebula Lord have always been my favorite, and will continue to do so. Alright then, moving on to Dark Zone? Yeah. So, Dark Zone has always been a fun Soul Blaze, series of cards, sorta, overlooked oftentimes, but at the same time, they have some of the most expensive and some of the most complex card styles in the game. Probably, just period. Because with Dark Irregulars and Pale Moon, you have to manage Soul. Spike Brothers, you have to manage attacks and hand advantage. Though with the recent support they've gotten, Spike Brothers especially is beautiful, fantastic. They have their own Conroe that should, and they've had this since set 3-2, which should tell you a lot, I think. And if it doesn't, it's a Conroe that's a rare that they've had since set 2. There is no other starter that you should play but this guy. Counterblast 1, summon out a grade 1 and put it into your hand. You could summon out things like Machine Gun Gloria, which is Counterblast 1. At the end of the battle, this unit boosted at grade 1 or greater rear guard. You can pay the cost. If you do draw a card, put the unit on the bottom of the deck. put the boosted unit on the bottom of the deck. By the way, you are playing things like this guy, who is attack Soul Blast 1 plus 10k if your Vanguard is in Legion, and at the end of the turn put him in the bottom of the thing. So you're not losing anything. In fact, you're gaining card advantage over what would otherwise be a minus. Grade 2s, when this is summoned during the battle phase, Soul Charge 1 and flip up a card. Then cards like this, Counterblast 1 while your Vanguard is Legion. When your Vanguard, on the turn your Vanguard Legion, in the battle this unit attack to Vanguard, Counterblast 1 and put this into the Soul. Search your deck for a card, in other words, another one of him, and put it to open rearguard circle, shuffle deck. And then, of course, I mentioned what he does already. The reason why this deck works is because the winning image is Baden Dragger and Bloody Ogre. I hate the name of it, the name Ogle. I mean, he is ogling you. This is an ogle, but at the same time, he's an ogre. I just don't like it. Legions like this. What Baden Dragger does is when he rides, everything that attacks gets plus 10k, and at the end of the battle goes into the bottom of the deck. What Bloody Ogre does is, during the turn that this unit legioned, everything that attacks gets plus 5k, and at the end of the turn, it goes at the bottom of the deck. So in other words, this is plus 15. And then it gets a plus another 10k from his own ability, because you are legioned. So in other words, he gets plus 25k, so he's 34k just by himself. Boosted, he's 41k, and you got card advantage for Counterblast 1. Plus whatever triggers, so he could hit 51k maximum. That's beautiful. That's fantastic. That is numbers. That is game-winning numbers, because if it's so late in the game that you're doing this, you know, you're probably gonna win. I lent this deck to Adam Wells, who was one of the original owners of Spike Brothers. I think I traded him a Neo Nectar for a Spike Brothers, or was it the other way around? Something like that. And you know, I lent him this deck, and he was absolutely astounded. The only thing is about this deck is that Baden Dragger is now an expensive card. It is like 12 bucks. Previously, it had been 2. I am not joking. It is the best possible break ride for Spike Brothers, and it is like it was cheap, super cheap. There is the only break ride, really. Came out with Grateful Catapult, which was a decent card because it was Counterblast 1 and Persona Blast. Summoned 2 things out. But yeah. This also has an ability, Counterblast 2, choose a card from your hand, put it into the Soul. This unit attacks at Vanguard. Pay the cost. If you do, search your deck for a card, call it to rearguard circle, shuffle deck. Really a great ability. Kind of hard to use, but that's why I have things like Jumbo the Stun Gun, which unflips damage and allows you to continue to use him and her and all the other painful things you're doing to the people. Right now, I just do need to do a little bit of modifications. Like, this guy's pretty great, but things like, he's around here somewhere, I saw one. Okay. Medical Manager, you don't need Medical Managers anymore. You gain a lot more soul in this deck just without it, and it's very weird. One of the stars of the deck is Field Driller. All of a sudden, he turns into a 22k that draws you a card on hit. When you have 4 more rear guards, which is just fantastic, especially early game. They really don't want to let you hit at the same time. They don't want to spend the 10k necessary to block him, because this is a 14k column at a 9k, which is funny to see them like look at it and then read it and then look at it again, and it's like, oh. Either way, really great deck. I think I made a deck profile. I need to make sure what deck profiles I've made of these clans ever since the release of BT 16 and 17. Either way, really great deck. One of my favorites. You know, you build it right, it really just pops for you, and it'll always be there for you in its strange and violent way. Alright, so here we got Pale Moon. Pale Moon is complicated. It's all about tricks and sleight of hand, deception, moving things around, and making sure things, aren't what they seem. I run girl across to the gap because she is a. Sometimes I also run him depending on my mood, but I never switch in a tournament, of course. Counterblast one, put in the soul, call something out that isn't girl who crossed the gap. So you summon out her, and you put something else into the soul, and you pull something else out, and then you pull something else in and out and in and out, and all of a sudden you don't really know where your deck is, or your hand, or your soul. Just know that you have a full field, and you did it through tricks. A lot of it is about switching things in and out. I've comboed up old cards like Crimson Beast Tamer, which gives plus 3k, and others, and Turquoise Beast Tamer, which gains plus 3k with let's see here, with Crimson Beast Tamer in the soul. And then also things like Nightmare Doll Alice, which are a counterblast one, put this unit into the soul, summon something else out from the soul if it hits anything. So this is a 19k column and multiple attacks. The ace of the deck, though, is Cracking Whip Beast Tamer, who is this chick. Legions with him. Counterblast 2. When this unit Legion Soul pay the cost Counterblast 2. Soul Charge 2. Choose 3 cards from the soul and call them in separate rearguard circles. Really, you focus on getting a couple things into the soul. You pull them out just right, and then you start the combos, especially a starter in there. Anyway, and then all of a sudden you have a field that looks like this. Oh, let's see here. There's another card I want. Ooh, Mirror Demon. I bet few of you guys have seen a Mirror Demon recently. I'd be surprised if anyone's seen a Mirror Demon recently. It's something like this, except we put this into the soul and pulled out a. Yeah, no. Where is she? There she is. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, no, I don't have more than 4. And then all of a sudden she's counterblast 1. Put this unit in the soul. When this unit boosts something and it hit, oh yeah, with Pale Moon Vanguard. Yeah, and by the way, it doesn't have to hit the Vanguard. None of this stuff really needs to hit the Vanguard to work. This guy doesn't need to hit the Vanguard. This girl doesn't need to hit the Vanguard. She doesn't need to hit the Vanguard. Nothing needs to hit the Vanguard. You could hit a rear guard. You could hit anything, and it would work. By the way, when units are placed from rear guard from soul, this unit gets plus 3k. This unit also gets it when the ability is Legion. I run him because he's with her. If she were by herself, I would still run her without him, and I would probably choose something else, maybe Jumping Jill or something interesting. Really, they need a 9k version of Mirror Demon. Otherwise, it just doesn't quite work. But at the same time, not. But let's say that no triggers came in there, and all you've been doing is soul charging through various abilities, a whole bunch of, um, whole bunch of useful units. Um, so let's say we swing this at a rear guard, and let's say the opponent is stupid and lets it hit. You've used her ability, so you're at 3 counterblasts. Boop, boop. These 2 go into the soul. Oh, look at that. And then I pull out one of these and one of these. Oh, look at that. How could this be? It's beautiful, is what it is. Let's say I swing with this to Vanguard. It doesn't hit. But here's the thing about it. I'm running stands. So let's say I double stand. which is always hilarious. Stand, stand. It hits. Counterblast 1. Send this unit into Soul. Pull out a this chick. This goes in. Pull out a purple trapezes, which sends something in, and pull something out that isn't named purple trapezes. And then let's you just pull this girl out again. Wow, look at that. You have more attacks. This gained a plus 6. This gained a plus 6k, making it a 24k column. And that just assumes, that went as ideally as that went right there, because now you have 5 attacks, and your opponent is probably really hoping that, you rather run crits. Pale Moon is a difficult deck to master. A lot of females in Vanguard play it, which is, like, okay, I guess. But at the same time, it's got that juggalo aesthetic that, a lot of guys love. And I kind of hope that they have a bunch more clowns to come out, because I miss Robert. This deck started out as a Robert deck. Oh, by the way, Spike Brother started as a Dudley Emperor and evolved to that. But this started as a Robert deck, Mega Blast, which was when you Mega Blast, put all their grade 1s into their soul. And he also had a divination where he would look at the top card, put it at the bottom of the top. He was really fun, but at the same time, I really needed to boost it up to top level. Let's see here. Yeah, really a fun deck. This isn't as competitive as my other decks, but it does cause people to trip themselves up more than you could imagine because of how rearguard centric it is. I do have to be careful about counterblast, and I do have to be careful about what I put into Soul and what I put into Vanguard, but it works out. Next deck is Dark Irregulars. This one started as a Mega Blast deck, Steel Vampire, and Demon Eater, but that never really went anywhere. But and then I evolved it through various different things, till eventually it became a oh my goodness, what's his name? Death Anchor build, and then with a Mega Blast with Demon Eater, because then you use Death Anchor. Put 5 cards in there, counter blast 5, kill all their rear guards, which is just funny when somebody Mega Blast you. When you Mega Blast somebody on hit, they have no one to blame but themselves. This deck, though, is based around 2 guys, Psychic of Ash Hadar and Echo of Nemesis. Echo of Nemesis is the glory of all Dark Irregulars. If you have 10 or more, they can't call grade 1 or graders units to the Guardian Circle. Both of them have Soul Blast at grade 0. Soul Charge 2 can't be used again. This guy gets plus 5k to himself if you have 6 or more rearguard, cards in Soul. And if the number of cards in Soul are 10 or more, choose one of your units and choose 2 of your units and they get plus 5k each. So, that works pretty well. This one's all about that Vanguard. Really good late game finisher, but this one comes up with things like Psycho Grave, which gets plus 5k Soul Charge 1 Counter Blast when it's placed on rear circle, so he's a 19k, and that just assumes you don't have any boosters. Let's talk about the lower levels here besides that guy. Both of these, this guy during Legion, but this girl whenever, during the Thruster, still an expensive card. Plus 3k whenever you Soul Charge, plus 3k whenever you Soul Charge. You can Soul Charge a guarantee of twice with this this last ability here. So in other words, this column becomes a 15, and then it moves into a plus 12, 27k column, plus triggers, and of course you're running crits and draws. I run draws because it goes with their abilities, which means more power for them. A combo that Chance, the comeback king, sold me on eventually is Forerunner with Greedy Hand, Counterblast 1, put this unit into the Soul, search your deck for a grade 2 or less Dark Irregular, put it in the Soul Shuffle deck. He counts as a Soul Charge 2, so plus 6k. put this unit from the soul to the drop zone, and this is Dimension Creeper, soul charge 2. So in other words, it's a let's see, plus 12, plus 12. So it's 24k, so it's a 39k column right there. Plus Psychic Herb of Ash, Hadar, which turns it into a 24, 39, 49k column plus triggers. Yeah, that's nice, isn't it? It's lovely, it's beautiful. Oh wait, plus another 12k. So it's a 61k column because you decided to do his ability too, and maybe you slap. You know, it boosts up super fast, which is just funny. It's wonderful. This deck, you know, really works for it. Not much else to really say about it. This is the winning image of the deck. Get to 10 cards or more, and then keep these things pumped. This gains plus 5k when it's played. This goes in the soul for a soul charge, and then you can soul blast it for another soul charge. 10k beater. I'm going to replace it with something eventually, but I haven't figured out what yet. You know, it just keeps going on and on. Perfect shields. There's no like quintet walls, if I recall correctly, because nothing came out about it during the Legion meta. Though technically it's still kind of Legion meta, even though Stride's a thing, or will be. Overall, really fun deck. Dark Regulars is not my clan, much like Dimensional Robos or Nubatama or things like Shadow Paladins, I guess. But I try to create my own little build about it that works, and I'm finding the two-way system in the new Legion meta, well, not the new, within the Legion meta, really useful, available, even when one of them isn't even if one of them isn't a Legion, as long as their abilities are similar enough. Yeah, I think that's really all I need to say about them. There isn't anything coming out for Dark Zone yet that's been revealed yet, except for a Stride for Dark Irregulars, which is a every time you put something into the soul, this unit gets plus 1k, which is not good. Not really. Which is a pity, though. I mean, I hope they have other Stride units for Dark Irregulars later on during Generation Break, and we have like a full 5 booster boxes rather than just the 2 that we had here. And then it's like, oh, be happy with that, we're moving on to Stride. Well, it's like we didn't even have a proper story arc. I mean, there was a clear progression from between Alfred and Blaster Blade against Dragonic Overlord to Dragonic Overlord, PBO, and MLB. That was the culmination of that series. That's why 1 through 5 is the best. Sure, it didn't have all the fancy abilities, but at the same time, everything did something, depending on how you want to build it. And you really felt the conflict. These 3 cards were the aces, were the best cards, and you built it around these cards. Every other triple rare. I mean, there's that one chick who is a Chimera that when you place it, counterblast 2 or something, send something from the soul out, and it was an 11k when you had a certain amount of the soul. There was a Beelzebub. There was I can't even remember 3 of the other triple rares. I mean, that's how solid those guys were. No, not Eclipse. My goodness, I can't even remember them. Because it's like set 5. This is what I'm talking about. I'm talking about set 5. There was Beelzebub and that one, Mistress Hurricane or whatever it is. And they were kind of worthless. Well, Beelzebub not so much, but there's better cards now, so you don't play them. And then there was PBO, MLB, and Dote. And I don't think there was another MO. There was, let's see here, was there OTT? No, there wasn't OTT. Or rather, there weren't any triple rares for OTT, I don't think. Was there Nova Grapplers? This is bad. Huh. Well, I'm not going to think about it anymore. If I recall correctly, I'll say something, but yeah. Alright, on to Megalonica. Obviously, I'm breaking up these videos. I took a second to take a look at, I'll bring this one first. No, there we go. To take a look at my computer and figure out, what cards were in set 5. It was Mandala Lord, which was kind of useful, actually. I just completely forgot he was in set 5. Then cards like Mistress Hurricane, Beelzebub, Starcall Trumpeter, which was MOB support. It counterblasts to summoned out a blaster if you had a Royal Paladin Vanguard. And then am I still missing one? I am, aren't I? Mistress Hurricane, which was a dimensional robo, who, when it was stood, which is no one's ability except until Enigma reigns in set 8, which restood things. It stood the thing behind it. It was really fun to play her with Enigma Rain, Mistress Hurricane, and then like some laurels and stuff. So you'd stand at both columns because they let it hit because you're running stands. Then you stand this, do, and then you get one stand, do. And it's like, oh, you let me hit. That means I can laurel again. And again. And again. And again. I think I chained it off 5 times once, and then they died. It was really hard to kill them because they kept on getting triggers into their drop zone. Right now I'm pulling out my Grand Blue cards. I played it in a game against Chris where I lost. No, I didn't. I played this against someone else. No, someone else played this against me and they lost to me. Yeah. As it should be. Deck knows its master. Alright, so what's this deck about? It's a dual Legion. Legion. I like the Legions working together. I use him for early cheap pluses, like her, pull her out. And then I use him to sort of like finish the game. Because I've got cards like this, which can turn into 16k attackers. Cards like this, which kill things on hit, and cards like this, which counterblast one when the Vanguard Legions summon her out from the drop zone. So, there's a lot of options here. It's kind of generic, and I'm gonna work on it in a bit, but I'm not really worried about it yet. I'm just enjoying it right now. This card is probably one of the best cards in all of Grand Blue right now. Soul Blast 1. When this unit is to put on an hour from drop zone, draw a card. Best art. Best girl. That's what it is. Much like Momo and Humming Pop, she is best girl. Then also we have the starter, Fledgling Pirate, Pinot Gris. Put this unit into the Soul. When the Vanguard Legions, you can basically summon something out of it. So you summon a bunch of stuff, really. This is sort of an exchange plus a plus. You summon in, put him in for whatever's useful. I also play 2 of these guys. He's been around since the beginning. Chappie the Ghosty, BT2. When this unit is placed on Guardian Circle, search out a Grand Blue, put it in the drop zone, shuffle deck. Yeah, it's not bad. You summon out her. So in other words, by the way, you want about 5 cards when it's time to Legion. Pinot Noir, he puts 3 cards, he mills 3. So in other words, you don't have to worry about that unless you get 3 triggers. But I've got triggers that can be put into the Soul for abilities, so it's not as bad as you think. But at the same time, you want to be able to use her for him. Summoning out as many of her as you can is just great. Kahilith is playing a reverse Casidas deck with this guy that I really wish I thought of because it's fantastic. you know, he uses the Unlimiter, so he uses Casius Reverse's ability almost automatically, and then he uses Legion to keep his deck full of triggers, which is like nice. Originally, my deck was like Kahilis, a copy of the World Champion deck. No, with Casius and that 112k attacker, I think. Yeah, I think that's what it was. I modified it and exchanged it for the one that get plus 10k if it fought something that was 13k or 12k or greater. So against cross rides and getting a trigger was no defense against it. And then I just kept on modifying it while keeping Casius until I went to the break ride Casius, and really, I never really figured out how to use that deck very well, and I never enjoyed it. So I just went through, kept it modified and upgraded until I came to this guy, and I like it. And this guy. I'm gonna try and do some modifications in the future. Maybe try unlimited break ride with this guy, just to summon 3 things out. But you know, there's that. Just really a difference in the design philosophy, I guess. No, I like my Grand Blue deck simple and to the point, and then I build them sort of creatively. This is also one of the first decks that won me a tournament in Yeti, which is nice. I've been winning in Springfield meta for quite some time, but at the same time, Yeti is one of the places where the big dogs go, along with meta and Spankies. But at the same time, if you win at Yeti, you are good. Versus, you know, there might not be people there, and meta's quality, it depends on who's there. Sometimes if there's everyone's there, it's it's a fight for your life. But if, you know, just some random people there and we're all relaxing, it's you know, there's no real challenge if you're good, because nobody's looking to challenge. That sounded better in my head, but it's, yeah, in Kansas City, I haven't fought Spankies yet. I have beaten other things like Game Cafe or whatever it was called, undefeated there with Mega Colony, back when Set 9 was a thing. But, yeah, you know, you got to keep track of that sort of thing. You know, if you're in a state and there's a lot of strong people, you got to know where those strong people go and where those strong people have, what the abilities they are, what specialties they have. Because otherwise, you just sort of, you'll never win. You know, it's if you work hard, you could get good, but you'll never win until you understand who wins, where they go to win, and what they do to fight. Just showing up with an S-class deck just means that you have an S-class deck. But to beat the strong at their own game, you know, that's something special. So my official Aquaforce deck is a Reverse Maelstrom. I like Reverse Maelstrom. I use the Unlimiter. It means that I can do him turn 1 as soon as I ride him, which is funny because sometimes they take him, and I'm running the rainbow triggers now for Blue Storm simply because, yeah. But you know, he is Counterblast 1, taps rear guard and lock it. This unit gets plus 5k and a crit, and if it doesn't hit, you can draw a card and kill one of your opponent's Vanguards. Rear guard units. And this has to be 4th attack or more. 4th attack or more if this unit, it gets plus 5k. And Counterblast 1, when this unit hits, you can draw a card and kill one of your opponent's rear guards. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. And then finally, to finish off, is Glory, which is 5k, and they can't summon grade 1 or greater units to Guardian Circle from hand. Which is funny, because you better hope that you've got a bunch of grade 0s. Otherwise, you know, you're in for a very rough turn. The starter is when this unit attack hits a Vanguard and it's the third attack or more, you can search for the top 5 and choose a Maelstrom, any one of these 3. They're all grade 3s, and put it into your hand. Reveal it to opponent, of course. One of the ways I can get 4 attacks is with Basil and this guy. This person gets plus 2k, and then it flips up with the thing behind it if it's a first attack or more. This is when this attacks a Vanguard. You could counterblast one, stand it, and it doesn't have to attack the Vanguard again, so you can just attack a 9k rear guard and force some more guard out of it. Early game, this combo is devastating because it is 3 attacks before you even got to your Vanguard, who will become the 4th attack, whose ability will go off. I also play her, a special counterblast, a Blue Storm. I can put something from the hand into the rearguard circle. In other words, I could go like this, swing at Vanguard, whatever, and then swing like this. She's Krista Elizabeth, by the way. Counterblast, and even though I've got like a grade 2 Vanguard, I can still put him out and attack with a grade 3. I mean, it's good. That's fantastic. A lot of fun. For power, I've got Gregarios's and 12k attackers and some damage and flippers in case I need them. But really this deck's kind of simplistic, and it's designed around getting Maelstroms off. And that's what it does, and it does it well. There's a lot of generation break stuff that's being released in set 2. G2, I'm going to call it, that I am loving. A lot of Aquaforce players should love it. The strides are fantastic. Card advantage, killing advantage, just everything. We're getting the Aquaforce trial deck in April, just like we're getting the Royal Gear Chronicle and what's the other one, Neonectar ones this month. So you know it'll be nice to give this thing a much needed upgrade, because it will have like 11k attackers and other things like that that can attack twice a turn, rather than having to rely on the worst card in Aquaforce. No, I'm joking. No, relying on Tidal Assault, which isn't a good card. It's a 9k then a 4k attacker, which works, I guess, if you're looking for sheer attacks. But if you're looking to actually make a difference, I just don't feel he's worth it. The last deck here I'm going to show you is my Bermuda Clan. They were the second ones I got. And what I did was I ran what I call Drawpalooza, which is basically a medley of cards based around Lena and other things that return cards to hand. There were 2 types of cards that gave you advantage for putting them into hand from the field, and cards that let you put things in the hand from the field. You know, it was beautiful. The starting from the first Bermuda trial deck, extra booster, is Weddell. Still a great, fantastic card because it's not bound by any archetype. For aces, we have the Break Ride. I want to replace this with Pacificas, but I'll talk that in a bit. The Break Ride, which is when a Bermuda Triangle rides this unit, draw a card. So you draw first, and then choose 2 rear guards and return them to hand, and your Vanguard gets plus 10k. This is, whenever you ride this unit, return all the Bermuda Triangle rear guards to your hand. And guess what happens? These 2 are Counterblast 1, Soul Charge, or Soul Blast 1, and draw a card. Then this one unflips damage. This one doesn't do anything when it's returned to hand, but when it's placed, it gives this unit the ability to draw a card and Soul Charge 1. This also Soul Blast 1, and when it hits, it lets you return something to hand, which lets you draw a card or unflip a damage, or do anything, really. You know, low battery thing. I also run her for power. You know, this one is basically a grade 2 Rio. I don't really care for the SP. I never understood why them thighs. I mean, I understand them thighs, but at the same time, I prefer the stockings. No accounting for taste, I guess. There's also another one called Charlotte, who was a promo, and what she does is on hit, you can return her to hand and summon something out onto the field, which is a lot of fun. I'd play a grade 3 that when it was returned to hand, you could Counterblast 1, Soul Charge 1, and draw a card. And then I'd replace those, and then play her, and then, you know, it's really fun. Pacifica is when you Break Ride, you may return, first time you return something to hand, you can summon something from the deck. So in other words, it gives even more pluses. More beautiful, beautiful pluses. It does require Top Idol Pacifica for a second ability, but I don't really care about that second ability, so I just want to run the first one. Because with Lena's, I automatically return things to hand. I have things that return to hand all day. There's no reason I won't return anything to hand. Overall, the Dropalooza deck is dated now, but at the same time, any sort of Bermuda deck that's based around heavy hand advantage and just consistency in doing so is a thing to be feared and greatly respected. All right, one more group, Zoo. For Zoo, I'm actually working backwards. Chronologically, I'm starting with Great Nature. My Great Nature deck is simple. It's all about that card advantage, baby, that card advantage. I'm all about that card advantage, baby, da 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 da. Something, something, something. Something base, I don't know. Starter, this unit goes into the soul. When something dies, draw a card. When a certain thing dies, draw a card. This does the same thing except it doesn't go into the soul. This is on hit, draw a card. This is a break ride. It gives plus 10k to Vanguard, and whenever a rear guard attacks, attacks a Vanguard, you can give something plus 4k, and when that card dies, you get to draw a card. This card is Counterblast 2. When this unit attacks a Vanguard, you may pay the cost. If you do, choose another of your Great Nature rear guards, stand it, and that unit gets plus 4k until end of turn, and then retire it. So, yeah, full field. I think this is pretty self-explanatory, but just make sure. So let me just do something. Let me just do something. Shh. Yeah, I'll do. Alright, so let's put this in the soul. When this dies, I get to draw a card. When this dies, I get to draw a card. When this dies, I get to draw a card. When this dies, I get to draw a card. So that's 4 cards. Watch my hands. Nothing on my sleeve. Nothing. I don't even have sleeves. Oh my god. Ah! There's a sleeve! Oh, where'd that come from? Oh, ah! Oh, okay. So I broke road this turn, obviously. So let's swing plus 4k. So it's it's 18k. Let's say I draw a card because they let it hit because it's early game. Or rather, they don't have the guard for it late game. Something like that. I don't know. They have good reasons. First card. Then I swing with this card, Counterblast 2, restand it. Trigger. Well, I kind of screwed myself out of double crit, but hey, that's fine. So 5k. This card is currently at 15k, 20k crit 2. It's nice. Actually, no. Yeah, 15k crit 2. Then let's do it like this. No, sorry, 15k, 20k. It's at 20k. Because 4k, 4k. Then we do it like this again. We attack. Let's say they let this hit because they're going to perfect shield this. So I draw again. Ooh, look at this. So in other words, this gets another plus 4k. So it got plus 12k. Plus a 5k. So that's 17k, 24k. And it gives itself another plus 4k. So it's a 28k to Vanguard. Does it hit? No, because the guy perfect shielded it because he was smart. But it dies at the end of turn. And I draw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. However, these are all terrible draws because there's a lot of not triggers. Yeah? Let's see here. Yeah, so I gained 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 cards. I gained 11 cards that turn. Ideally, this was like a perfect turn. I'm not gonna lie to you, it was a perfect turn, but at the same time, um, I just drew, including the twin drive, I just drew 11 cards. Checkmate. It's. I drew 11 cards, and they were mostly not triggers. Look at this. There's a heel on top. There's a heel on top of my thing. It's. I need to shuffle this deck. I really need to shuffle this deck. I even run draws because this is the cutest little draw in the game. Casting that donkey. Also, he gets a plus 3K, which is necessary sometimes because a plus 3K in just the right places. A 3K in all the right places. Well, look out, we're going. Oh, I got songs from the brain. I listen to the radio. I need to get books on tape. Um, really a fun deck. Really great. Started out with Bison Burger. Another one of the first videos I did for, uh, Imagine Your Goddess. Won me tournaments. Lost me some too. What's funny is, yeah, it's. Everyone said it was a bad card, but at the same time, it wasn't. It was a good card. It's just nobody really wanted to use it. There's bad cards in Vanguard like Coil, Wild Fist, Bison, and some of them like Bison do get replaced because they're just not as good as other things like Polaris in a Break Ride deck. Yeah, Polaris in a Break Ride deck is fantastic. By the way, Binoculus Tiger, it will be obsolete when set GBO2 comes out, where they have Sleeping Tapir, which does what Binoculus Tiger does. Sleeping Tape, except better. I think he allows something to live or whatever, or gives you card advantage, something like that. It's getting really late, and I'm having trouble remembering. But yeah, he's a common, and he's a better Binoculus Tiger. Just letting you guys know that this is how it goes in Vanguard. This Binoculus Tiger was like a $20 card for the longest time when Reverse Leopold came out. The next cards I got here are my Neonectar build. Unlike Chris and others, I don't really care for Musketeers. There's an Unflipper I sort of want to play, but at the same time I just don't. I like normal Musketeer stuff. I'm sorry, normal Neonectar stuff. And that involves searching out copies of cards onto your field. I call it Explosive Overgrowth. Starter, we have one of the best arts in the game, because there's a lot of really great arts in this game. Well, not him. A lot of really great arts in this clan. Honestly, arts are probably the best part of it. Main the Physalis, put this unit into the soul. If it hits, top 5, search a grade 1, call it tapped. You can call something like this, which is when this unit boosts and it hits and you have a Neonectar Vanguard, it's a Vanguard this unit boosted, you can put it into the deck and summon one of her. What she does, and this of course is Vanguard or Rearguard, this is just Rearguard, kind of +1 soul +1, when this unit attack hits a Vanguard and you have a Neonectar Vanguard, I can summon out one of her. So in other words, eventually she becomes permanent advantage, starting with the starter. And she can do it as many times as they let her hit, and they shouldn't let her hit, but they do. Of course it's tapped, but still. You run a deck with stands like I do. Let's see, where's the stand here? I run stands and crits and draws. I think I run rainbow triggers. Do I run rainbow triggers? What do I run here? I haven't played this deck in a while. Honestly, I've not been excited about it. Everyone, okay, there we go. Yeah. I've had some really great ideas. The funnest one, of course, is Fruit Basket Elf and Poison Mushroom, which is Fruit Basket Elf is Counterblast 1. Your opponent cannot normal call units. In other words, this will hit a Vanguard, essentially. When it boosts a Neonectar, But at the same time, it doesn't deal damage even if the attack hits. So in other words, crits don't matter. You can put all the crits in the game on it and it won't let it break through. At the same time, they can also intercept, which turns it into a -1. What Poison Mushroom does is, when this unit attack hits a Vanguard and you have 4 or more Neo-Nectar rearguards, which you will. This is Neo-Nectar. You will always have 4 or more rearguards if you're playing it right. Musketeers are the exception, because Musketeers are ew. 4 or more, you can draw a card. So in other words, I have a card advantage, field advantage, Neo-Nectar deck that just sort of rolls over everything. I've got AK boosters, I've got Hey Yo Pineapples, Hey Yo Pineapple, Hey Yo Pineapple, as well as other things like that. You know, they sort of work together to make a not really the best deck ever, but a good deck. This thing is, when a Neo-Nectar rides this unit, Counterblast 2, I can copy 2 of my Neo-Nectars here. In other words, like, I could have this right here, and then I could have another one right here, or I could have another pair of these 2 right here. It's really pretty great. And plus 10k. The Counterblast 1 for a +2, much like Kagura Bloom is, and his name's Master Wisteria. He's not a Musketeer, sadly. Otherwise, he'd be really, really good. Yeah. Well, they should have a Musketeer break, right? They should have. You know, he really brings out the overgrowth, and then you have someone like her, Maiden of Venus Trap Reverse. She's Counterblast 1 and lock a Neo-Nectar. Choose from among the top 5, summon it out, like say maybe a Hey Yo Pineapple, give it plus 5k, so it turns into a 16k. It's a +1 and it allows you to keep up like field presence and pressure, but at the same time, you know, it does lock your own unit, and eventually you have to choose between locking and calling over things, or just, you know, attacking every turn with what you have. Really, this is not as powerful as it could be. The stuff coming out in set 02 is really powerful. Not sure if it's enough to push them into S-class territory, but they certainly will become contenders if a person can play them right. And you might say, but Ben, it always meant Mercenary King, wise and powerful, which is how you should address me. You know, it always depends on their skill. But at the same time, I'm going to say at the same time quite a bit. Yes, it is true. But why doesn't Neo-Nectar and Mega Colony other things win in the hands of masters? No, it's strange deck. It's decks with power. Grand Blue is a sleeper hit. It's always more powerful than people think it is, in the hands of a master or even a neophyte. But you can't say the same thing about Dark Irregulars or Tachikaze. Best for last. Mega Colony. Mega Colony is probably one of my most complex decks here. I've comboed up the Break Ride, the Legion, and a Jirafa. I have used a Jirafa before, and it is hilarious because it minuses you and minuses your opponent, and then your opponent's like Gold Paladins, and they're like, huh, I've opened up 2 spots so that I can do more things and gain more an advantage. And I'm like, oh, I should not have done that. Jirafa's Counterblast 2, kill you 2 of your own units, and then kill 2 of your opponent's grade 1 or lesses, which is fun. You know, it's sort of like a secondary thing. Sure, Mega Colony Suns, but they also eat their own and kill, you know, their opponents. A Vectrazeus just kills all the grade 1s on the field for everybody as soon as he's ridden, which is always interesting, I guess. Break Ride is, when this unit is break ridden, give the Vanguard plus 10k and nothing can stand next turn. Not even their Vanguard. Your stuff can, of course. This guy's ability is Counterblast 1. When your drive track reveals something with the same name, persona checks, your opponent's Vanguard cannot stand. I've gotten it off. It's incredibly satisfying. And then usually I can write them off because the second ability is Soul Blast 2 Machinings. Choose one of your opponent's rear guards, and that unit cannot stand until the opponent's next stand phase. Stand during the opponent's next stand phase. So it's like you let's say you drive check him and somebody else. So you ride him again, Soul Blast himself, Legion himself, put it back in so you have more fodder for it. It's really nice that way. Starter, I use Giraffa. Giraffa is a Gen 2 ride chain, grade 1, summons the grade 1 over grade 0, summons grade 2. Put it into hand, then ride it. His ability as a grade 2 is, he's an 10k of course, and then once you unit attack hits a Vanguard, choose one of your opponent's rear guards and it can't stand. This is a highly defensive deck. And then we have 3 other cards here. I do have some machining here, including like this guy. Cyclomatus really needed to be machining, yeah. But basically, these two are, when it boosts a hit on the Vanguard, you can counterblast one, or for free if it boosts a machining, stun something. This is just to keep things going and keep things interesting. There's not a lot of counterblasting in this deck, so I can run guys like him. And of course I have 12k attackers and these things for this guy to boost. I don't run many grade 2s because this guy equals a grade 2. Because he summons out a grade 2 directly, namely the other Giraffa, who I want to ride anyway. This guy is the Legion mate when this unit is placed on rearguard circle, and your Vanguard is Legion. Choose an opponent's rearguard, and that unit cannot stand during your opponent's next stand phase. This is a 12k attacker. It's nice. It's really funny because they hope for that top deck. When you break ride, you know, boom. It's you know, they hope for that top deck for a grade 3. I've seen people play grade 3s. Like Sing Saber is one of my funnest fights with this deck, because it's like you break ride, and then you break ride, and then they're actually considering it with themselves. Is it worth risking the fact that they may not be able to ride a grade 3 next turn? Do they want to thin out the deck of grade 3? Ugh, interruptions. Running out of power. Ugh. What was I doing? Oh, right, I was gloating about how Sing Sabers sometimes have to pause and be like, do I really want to thin my deck of grade 3s? The answer is yes, because, you know, Sing Saber's ability still isn't that bad. But it doesn't change my opinion on it. By the way, if you notice a change in quality, I've just discovered a new way to place this onto the table. I thought it wouldn't fit, but it does, and I am mighty ashamed. So I apologize for the quality. Same time, Cyclomatus, best break ride in the game. It's free. It potentially minuses your opponent too, as well as from hand, as well as, you know, prevents you from spending anything from hand. And then combined up with a Legion that just puts on more pressure and a high crit deck and on-hit abilities, Mega Colony becomes a fearsome tool in the hands of somebody who knows how to use it. And of course, that's always good. I guess that's sort of all I can really say about these decks. You know, this deck doesn't hit numbers, but at the same time, it'll hit its abilities better than anything else. So I guess I'd better, you know, finish up this video. I did have a question from a person who asked whether it was useful to get the trial decks. Wait until you buy the trial decks to get the Aquaforce stuff, and then, you know, or build a deck now. Well, the answer is to build a deck in. Alright, the reason why I didn't do it because it's shaky cam all day. sure that you have some vague idea what you're doing. Otherwise, you won't know how to build it properly when it comes out. A lot of players can build, Perdition or PBA and stuff like that, but if they don't know, if they're just copying someone else's build, or if they're, even worse, just sort of throwing things together like they want, sure, they've got a PBA deck, and PBA and Thingsaver and the Great are good enough to win games on their own. Glare. Um, but at the same time, it doesn't overcome any difference in skill, um, any luck differences, any subtle differences between one thing or another. A PBA deck that doesn't run Macart is a dumb deck, just like a deck that runs Thingsaver is a kind of a dumb deck that doesn't run Gildus or something else that takes advantage of the legions in such positive ways. Then we have if you know how to build a deck and you know how to play the deck, when the things you want actually comes out, it's much more easier to put it together into a functional, thing. Um, you can choose the amount of money you want to spend here. You know that if you buy just 2 trial decks, you'll get everything. I don't think I'll spend. That's raw. Um, what are you going to do with it? Are you going to get Tidal Assaults and just play generic? Or are you going to try something mixed with Blue Storm or, other funner things, I guess? That really depends on the individual. Because what Stride does is it prevents Legion from gaining too much of an advantage over you, while at the same time maintaining a sort of truthfulness to your your Vanguard, your winning image, or whatever it is. Uh, so I'd Stride. I'm really hoping that Mega Colony gets a Stride announced soon. I know they're getting one in Fire's collection, but I'm hoping also they get one in set 3 because, well, let's take a damage, 5k to Vanguard. Let's say they, I risk a Vanguard attack. So let's put out, or rather, let's just say I take a rear attack. Boop, boop. And that's the rest of it because it takes 50k, as I mentioned earlier. Draw. Come on. I need to stun. No, 5k draw, 5k crit. Now that's pretty nice, actually. Let's say these are both 23k columns. One has a crit, one doesn't. You swing in with this one, they take it. Actually, no, you swing in with this one. Maybe they don't have any guard, maybe they do. But let's keep going here. That's not the purpose here. What happens is you're allowed one turn in a row where you can spend 30,000 guard and win as long as you have, keep going as long as you have no interceptors. But, I don't need to worry about that. Here's this. I'm keeping this in hand, so it's like this. I still have this 5k. Still have my interceptors. I draw. I swing. Oh, look at this. And I heal. But let's counterblast. Alright, so it's the end of the turn. And no, I don't really hit anything else. And this time, they can't stand their Vanguard. Now, usually, this would be game. But let's see what happens. Draw. Now I've got 2 cards left, and they're both a double crit. Now, what I could do is, since I draw, I ride. I Soul Blast 2 to stun something. I send back one of these, and then crit. 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 These go into here. This goes here. So let's say that this is a serious game and I have 2 left. I put those down. All of a sudden I have 5 crits. You could just show that to your opponent and be like, you want to really pull this out? Because it's like 5k crit, or 5k crit, 5k crit. It's win, is what it is. And of course, this was a very ideal game. The opponent could not ride twice. Which is actually kind of more common than I should like to admit, but at the same time, if they're swinging for 20k, it's permissible. This will teach you basic guarding. It is not an excuse for experience, but it's like punching. It's like a punching bag in boxing. Oh, yeah, punching bag in boxing, where you're punching a bag, and it's mostly to build up strength, stamina, figuring out the combos, and how you punch and where you're weak, that sort of thing. But it's nothing to replaces what you can do with a real opponent. So you really need a real opponent as much as possible. But preferably someone who knows what they're doing and won't misplay. Because punching a brick wall will build up more strength than just punching a pillow. Calluses and all that jazz. My calluses are actually, my knuckles are disturbingly large. I mean, it's pushing out there like a full inch from punching walls. What am I looking forward to in Stride? I'm looking forward to the variety Stride will give. I'm looking forward to the fact that I will basically run a deck of Strides that I will exchange as necessary. I'm going to run 4 Harmonix Messiah in every deck until Blizzaros or Blizzard, whatever, Snow Elemental Blizzard or whatever comes out, because Snow Elemental Blizzard is a bit better than anything else, because it brings out Generation Break 2 almost immediately. Because what he does is Counterblast 1, flip a, if I'm recalling correctly, flip a Prey Elemental, or flip somebody face up, basically. Which means that Generation Break 2 becomes active. Which means that a whole bunch of really fun ability goes off, especially for your Vanguards. I'm looking forward to what these guys have. People are really looking forward to things like the Grand Blue Stride, which will probably be on hit, return something from the drop zone to the field. I'm Narukami ones are already proving to be bind and retire and give power, and it's like, wow, it's like Vermilion all day. The Darker Regulars guy is kind of boring. I'll probably do a Stride special once the entirety of Fire's collection has been released, at least in the Japanese. But for now, you know, that's the season finale for you. I think I've explained quite a bit. I'm not really looking forward to too much here. A whole bunch of stuff will just be added to my decks, make them much more powerful, much different, better than anything I've had before. And I'll start to make my lower ranked decks much more powerful, which is kind of important. If you've got a bunch of powerful decks and you know how to use them, then you're in a very secure position. You can play whatever you want and expect a victory, or rather, you know, don't expect to lose, which is about the same thing, maybe. Oh well. It's been an excellent series of State of Plays with you guys. I'm really glad I was able to, you know, is your real test to get 6 damage right now. The struggle goes on, and every time you think you've won, there's always somebody waiting in the background who can beat you and who will beat you. And then you gotta train some more, and then you gotta beat that fear in you, and you gotta fear nothing, not even your own success, because what's scary isn't losing in this game, because it's easy to lose. What's scary is succeeding at it. That was dumb. No, what's scary is being worthless. What's scary is being a laughing stock. You know, it's no shame to lose to somebody who is powerful, but at the same time, it's a shame to lose to somebody who is obviously weak. You know, it's embarrassing. It's not worth the pride. And pride in Vanguard is like currency. You can spend it pretty easily, but you have to make it yourself. So I'm going to encourage you all. Be proud, card fighters. The state of play is that we must continue to fight, continue to train, and continue to get more powerful. And so for that, you must have pride. This has been Wheeler, the Mercenary King. Have a wonderful rest of your evening. Enjoy the videos, which should, the next state of play, which from your perspective will come out, you know, pretty soon, but from my perspective is a month away. Months actually, but about the trial decks, as well as how I'm going to use them in my new decks. Alright.